Welcome, everyone. This is our Thursday morning production call, and we got a great one lined up for y'all. So many new agents or um, agents that have started to buy leads, right? Maybe a couple of months in the process. But today we're going to talk about workflow, right? Your lead workflow. I think this is super important. Look, we're in the business of sales, right? We're in the business of making an income. You got to make some money here, right? So we're going to talk about what a lead investment should look like, what the workflow on the leads should look like. I'll even touch on a couple of different leads because there are different types out there, just to make sure, right, you're getting a good ROI on your leads. More importantly, out of what we're going to talk about on that workflow is making sure you're condensing it as much as possible, right? Because look, you can invest in a lead investment, and if you do it too slow, right, it could take you 2 months to get your return on a lead investment. That is not what we're here to do. We are here to get the return that same week. And I'm going to talk about that opportunity and how we do it. And then we're going to talk about some warm market. There is nothing like free leads, and we got a ton of warm market around us. And I want to make sure we're always maximizing right, your opportunity to make an income here. And then we'll also touch a little bit on after seller referrals, right? Making sure you're getting referrals with the people that you're sitting with. Again, basically today, look, we're going to talk about leads, talk about warm market. The big picture here is we're actually talking about making money fast, right? Like that is the main subject today. But this is how you do it, and this is how you make sure you have a really good process. So, before we get into it, I love to always start this, right? This is an hour-long call. I want to make sure you get the most out of this. You are not going to remember everything we talk about, so please have a pen and notepad out. Take lots of notes. We do not want you to go out and change your entire appointment, right? We want to make sure right now, right, take plenty of notes and then kind of circle three things like, hey, you know what, I'm not doing that, and I think that'll help improve my business. And then go apply that today, right? The hard part is learning something and then applying it to your business. Make sure you apply it to your business. I promise you this stuff works. And then the really cool part is we're a really large community in the Cook hierarchy. If any of this helped to resolve some leads, make some extra cash, please post that and ban it. Hey, you know what? From the production call, this is what I took and I applied it and it actually worked, so that other agents can see, right? Not everybody gets to hop on here, but other agents can see that and they're able to plug in and get some great info out of this. So let's talk about lead workflow. So again, I think there's a couple of very important rules of thumb that you make sure you do when you're working leads. So I'm going to ask y'all to take a bunch of notes on this part because I want to make sure everyone understands this. Um, Again, they're a little bit flexible, but for the most part, make sure you're doing these things because if not, you won't find success with working leads because they're still leads, right? They may be the greatest leads in the world. I would love to say that, but you're still calling people, right? And so it's very important to make sure you have a process in place that you're resolving them. So I always like to talk about amounts first. Okay, so write this down. Anytime you purchase leads, you want to be able to purchase 30 to 60 leads, right? So if you're investing in leads, you want to get 30 to 60 leads. This is per week as well, right? So make sure you write down per week. Okay. Why per week? I always love to remind everyone we are a real business. We don't treat this like a business. We are a real business. So just like any other business, I always refer right to the hamburger joint. Inventory must come in weekly if I expect weekly sales, just like a real business. I have to invest, right? Inventory has to come in every single week if I want weekly sales. Okay. Why that's important? I'll love to give a couple of examples. One, let's just say I bought leads this week, right? But I didn't buy any next week because I was scared because I didn't, right? Emotions we go through in sales. I didn't get an app, right? I didn't make a sale. So I bought $200 worth of leads last week, Amber. I didn't make any sales this last week or this week, so I'm not going to invest in leads this week, right? Still struggled. I booked a couple of appointments. I got a couple on the line, but I still haven't made my sale. I'm going to wait till next week in my head. What's actually happening to your business? Let's talk about it. You're calling the same leads now for 3 weeks, right? It gets to a certain point when they're going to see your phone number so many times, right? Where you actually burn the lead, right? And when I say burn the lead, you're just burning your phone numbers, right? Because realize, depending on the lead level, if they're a CIC and you call the same CIC for 3 weeks, right, it's still going to become a CID at one point, right? And then an E and then an H. Somebody's going to write, if Amber has them, Rodney could buy it as a CIH, and then all of a sudden they've never seen his phone number. They pick up, boom, 3,000 APV, right? But for your business, realize if you're calling the same leads for 3 weeks back to back, almost every single day, you will burn your phone number. So you do got to be careful. That's why, right? Brand new inventory has to come in every single week. What happens when you are doing that? This is the client's experience, right? They get to see you call them for 3 or 4 days back to back to back, right? Until they pick up or they don't, whatever they're doing, right? But next week, I get a new batch of leads and I start calling those. When I finish dialing those Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right, or Saturday, whatever your schedule is, then, right, because you're still calling your old leads that you haven't resolved, then you're going to get back to those. But they've had days, right? They've had 5, 6, almost 7 days now since your last dial. So you don't burn your leads, right? So that's why it's very important. Lead intake every single week. You are a real business. If you were to, almost any other business that has any type of supply or inventory, realize you would have a weekly setup where a vendor came and sold you whatever they do, right? If it was hamburgers, again, hamburger meat would come in once a week or even twice a week, depending on how much sales you wanted to make, right? So make sure you're treating it that way. Then I do like to touch on the other end, right? When I said, hey, what happens if you buy, when you invest in leads, but it takes you 4 weeks, 5 weeks, or 6 weeks to resolve them, right? I also want you to see what they're seeing. So if I'm a lead for you and you only call me once or twice, right? Because these are thoughts that are in our heads because we're in sales. You really want me to call somebody 3 times back to back? You really want me to call them in the morning and in the evening, the same, like that's 6 dials in one day. And then you want me to do that tomorrow and then the next day and the next day? You want me to do that 4 days in a row? Yes, we do. If not, this is what happens. And this really happens when you're not dialing enough dials. Okay. So again, I'm just giving y'all great examples, right? Where you can kind of adjust your dials, but realize this. I'm going to go with 60 leads because that's what we like to have you have for a week. Okay. If you have 60 leads, I got my 60 leads today. Okay. If I triple dial all 60 leads just by numbers, right now, I want y'all to do this math with me on paper because I want y'all to realize what happens when you do dial and when you don't dial, right? So if I have 60 leads today and I triple dial them all, what's 3 times 60, right? Let's put it in the chat. 180 dials. That's right. 180 dials just to go through. Now people are going to pick up. They're not it, right? Someone's going to pick up. So let's not say 180 dials. So the number I want you to write down, we're going to go with 150. So if you went through your entire batch of 60, you need 150 dials. That's today in the morning, right? Like if I got my batch of leads today in the morning, that's what I would need, right? About 150 dials. That means I resolved some leads. People told me no. Maybe I booked 1 or 2. Great. But remember, most of them didn't pick up because you don't know if they work in the morning or they work in the evening. So then I'm going to call my leads in the evening, right? For the folks that didn't pick up. Well, now I probably don't have 60 leads, right? Maybe I have 50, right? Let's say you resolve 10 of them. So now I have 50 leads to dial in the evening. What's 3 times 50? Right? About 150. Again, people are going to pick up. So let's go even lower. I'll even go down to 100, right? Because people picked up because you called them in the morning. They're like, why'd you call me so many times? Right? So let's say 100. So look at that number right now. So you dialed 150 in the morning, right? Or 180, but 150 in the morning, and now 100 dials in the evening. You're at 250 dials in a day. Just for you to call your leads in the morning and the evening. Just remember those numbers, right? When y'all look at your dials, right? Did you dial 50 dials today? Did you dial 75 dials today? Did you dial 100? Did you dial 200? Did you dial 300? Again, right? This is your business, but realize what your lead is experiencing. Okay. So if you dialed, I want y'all, so basically, right, if you dialed about over $200 today, you probably touched all your leads. Great. If you didn't, more than likely you did not go through your entire stack. That's when it becomes a problem. How many of y'all have ever experienced like, man, I got a batch of leads. I've been dialing about 100 dials a day, Joe, right? But they're not answering. Like they never answer. It's so hard to get because this is what happens to them. Okay. If you're dialing 200 plus, they saw your number, they saw your number in the morning, they saw your number in the evening. I promise you by tomorrow, they're picking up the phone, right? You may not feel you're putting in activity, but they're seeing the activity that you're putting in. And at one point, they're going to pick up the phone and ask, why are you calling? And then you get to go into script. If you're not putting up those type of numbers, you have to understand what they're experiencing. And this is why if you get a batch of leads and you don't dial enough, you never get picked up, right? Like if you ever wondered when you see us post numbers, you're like, man, why do so many people pick up their phone? Then we start having all these other thoughts. My number's spam. I'm not using the same number or that the area code that I'm calling, right? If I'm calling Washington, I should not. You don't need none of that. It's all about trafficking your leads, the workflow. So if you're dialing 50, 60 dials a day and you have a batch of 60 leads, I hope you dialed through most of them, but you don't, right? So what they're seeing is you went through, let's say, your first 20 leads. And if we'll just start with a Monday. So they saw your phone number Monday morning. Okay. Or maybe Monday evening, right? If you did your 100 dials throughout the day. But remember, you only went through not even half your stack of leads. So tomorrow, what do y'all do, right? What do? We don't start from the top again, right? We start where we left off, right? Because in our head, I want to get through my stack of leads. But realize now I'm going to go through that stack of leads, right? Which is the second half. And this is the first time in 2 days they've seen my phone number. Now I'm barely going to get through that stack if I put up 50 to 100 dials. Okay. So now it's Wednesday, right? Maybe I hope I went through my whole stack and now I'm going to start over from the top again. Realize what happened to that Monday client you called. They saw you call them one time, right? Like you either, and when I say one time, hopefully you triple dial them, but they only saw your number on Monday morning. Now it's Wednesday and hopefully you're there. Oh, did I freeze? Oh, am I back? All right. Right. And so now it's Wednesday and hopefully they're seeing your phone number again. What happens when there's that much time and realize if you're dialing even less, if you're doing 30 dials, 40 dials, 50 dials, there could be 2 days in between the last time you've called them. A great way to look at that is if you are on the dialer shows you the last date you called them. So when I look at that, and I'm just giving y'all my numbers, in my dialer, it's anywhere from 200 to 400 dials a day. There's still some leads in there because I get 60 leads every single week, no matter what. I can still go in there currently, and some of my leads only have 7 to 10 dials within a week, right? Because there's so many leads, right? And you're trying to call them in the morning, in the evening. So just realize if you're not trafficking your leads enough, they barely see your phone number. They're not going to remember your phone number in 2 or 3 days. You are just another spam call. That's why it's hard to not get results when you're not dialing enough. Now, there's ways to fix it, right? If you know you're part-time or you're not dialing that much, get a small, right? Be on the 30 lead stack, right? Because remember, never get less than 30, never get more than 60. Because remember the numbers I just give you, if you buy more than 60 leads this week, you better be dialing $400 or $500 a day just to traffic them enough, right? So that's why we never coach, don't ever get more than 60 leads. So realize, depending on your schedule, if you're part-time, if you can only dial a few hours, right, and you don't have that much time, that's where you want to be on the lower end of the leads, right? You want to be at around 30 leads. And then just do that math and understand that's the type of activity you have to traffic your leads to get results. And you want to be able to call them in the morning and the evening, 4 days back to back. I promise you do that 4 days back to back. By day 3 and 4, they're picking up the phone and they want to know why you're calling. And then you just stick to the script and you're going to get results. Remember, your job is to get a no. In between your no's, you're going to get yeses. right? But that's a really good idea of how I want y'all to remember how to traffic. Again, what I love to coach, so write this down for some really good results. If you're willing to dial 200 dials a day, right? And book your 6 appointments, which is about 6 hours worth of work. I love to coach as a new agent. It's $200 worth of leads. And that's 30 CICs as in cat and 30 CIDs as in dog. That's a really good mix that allows you to book about 12 to 15 appointments if you're calling them in the morning, right? Again, $200 a day. You should be able to book about 12 to 15 appointments with that batch. You should be able to write an application or two. So that means with a $200 lead investment, you should be making north of $1,000 in deposits, right? You'll probably make about 12, 1,500, but this is a business. You invested $200 worth of leads. You need to back that out because you need to go buy more leads, right? So take home, you should be making at minimum $1,000. The cool part is we do this all the time with our agents. They're usually writing a lot more than that, right? 3,000 APV, so they're making $1,700, $1,800. Again, I want to underpromise and overdeliver. The only person, here's the thing, the leads work. You are the activity doer, right? You're the one that has to stick to the script. You're the one that has to put in the activity. Remember, you are the determining factor of your ROI, right? And then there's nothing like dialing in the workroom so that you can get coached if you're brand new. Don't try to go learn this by yourself. Remember, it's the Kobe trying to go practice in a different gym and then coming back to the coach and saying, "Hey, I think my layup needs some work." He didn't get to watch you. He can't give you any tips, buddy. Right? So you got to make sure you're practicing in front of your mentors so that they can help you book appointments, right? Then let's talk about what is the activity. If I'm putting in this type of activity, what are results I should expect? These are some, again, really good rule of thumbs. Ideally, your daily activity, how do I know I did well with leads? Did you dial 200 dials for the day? Or did you book 6 appointments, right? You're pushing for 6 appointments, and I'm going to go over why. But how do I know? Look, maybe I didn't book an appointment today. I'm brand new. I'm following the script. I'm trying to figure it out. I want to get my practice in. But how do I know I did well today? Did you dial 200 dials, right? With a dialer, you should be able to dial north of 50 dials an hour. Even on your phone, right? You should be able to hit send 50 times an hour, 40 at the least, right? If you just do the math times 6 hours, that's 6 hours worth of work. Okay, so I'm asking, again, not even a full-time shift. You should be able to accomplish that in about a 6-hour shift. Your goal, ideally, is to book 6 appointments in a day if you're looking to write business as much as possible. Why? It's just the numbers, right? If you have 6 appointments, right? And I love to use my fingers here for picture, right? So if I have 6 appointments booked today, on average, as a brand new agent, we have about a 30 to 40% show rate. Okay. What does that mean? What's 40% of 6? It's 2. Right? So if I have 6 booked appointments and I have a 40% show rate, only 2 of my appointments are going to show up. Okay. If 2 of my appointments show up, Symmetry wide, we close at a 50%. Right? So if I have 6 appointments, I have a 40% show rate, 2 appointments show up. Hopefully I'm writing 1 appointment, right? That's where I'll get my app. Now here's the problem when I start with 6 and I end up with 1. What happens if I start with 5? I end up with none, right? Because there's not half, right? You can't get half of an app, right? So just understand that math. Now here's the cool part. You can influence it the other way though. Right? If you're pushing 8 appointments, 10 appointments, 12 appointments, right? We try to post as much as we can on band. Sometimes you see me with 12 appointments for the day and you'll see me write 4 or 5 applications in the day. That's why I just doubled the 6, right? I went out and booked 12 appointments. And with if I write apps, right, in one home, if I have 6 appointments, remember we write multiple apps in the home, right? So I can write 2 apps in this house or 4 apps. But if I got 2 yeses because I had 12 appointments, I can submit anywhere from 2 to 4 or 5 applications in a day and have a $6,000 day, right? That's how we do it. We're just playing the numbers, right? We're doubling the numbers. Realize when you're looking at your week, If you only have 6 appointments booked for the entire week, realize that means you're maybe promising yourself one app for the week. That's why, right? Ideally, you want to have 20, 25, 30 booked appointments for the week. When you see that we write 10,000, 10 apps for the week, it's because we had 25, 30, 35 appointments booked throughout the week. Only 12 showed up, right? And we wrote half of them. So that means we wrote in 6 homes, right? And if we just write 2 apps in each home, that's 12 applications for over $10,000. That is how we're doing that, right? Again, we're just doubling the numbers of if you have 6 appointments in a day, you hopefully write one app. Now you got to remember this is sales, and this is the rule of large numbers. Okay, just because you sat with 2 doesn't mean you're gonna write one of them no matter what, right? So write this number down. To get an application, it takes about 4 to 6 sits, right? So that means you got to sit with about 4 to 6 families, and then you should have about 2 applications. Okay, you got to sit with 4, right? So if I sat with one family today on a Thursday, and I don't sit with another family until Saturday, and I don't sit with another family until next Wednesday, you're just prolonging that application. Or like yesterday, I had 4 sits and I wrote one app, right? I'm condensing my time. I want to do it all in one day, right? It's hard. This is hard, right? You got to dial a lot. You got to book a lot, and I'm going to teach y'all warm market stuff that gets you a lot of appointments faster, right? But again, these are the numbers. So every 4 to 6 sits, you should have an application. Remember, that's just an average number. There are times that we will sit with 10 families in a row and nobody buys, right? So just because I tell you 4 to 6 doesn't mean that first application is at 4 to 6. That's what it averages out after 6 weeks. What does that mean? I can sit with 12 families and not until the 12th, right? So imagine it sucks to get into the 8, 9, 10. Man, I've sat with 10 families, Amber. Like I still get everyone's a no. Think about it. It's okay. You're still within the numbers, right? And then all of a sudden, finally on my 11th sit, I write 4 apps, right? Well, guess what? Divide 4 by 11, and every 4 to 6 sits, you get an app. Right? So like the numbers will always average out, right? But just realize that as in sales, right? We're going for as many numbers as we can to increase those ratios.
I think adding on to that too, Joe, don't sit there and analyze those numbers yourself because that
Mhm.
gets very overwhelming. Like, and I find myself doing that too, but then I'll talk to Joe and I'll be like, all right, I've had this many sits. And I hear myself saying it, and I'm like, oh right, I'm only at 4 sits. No wonder I have no app.
Yeah, Jimmy's been doing it the past couple of weeks, and he's done really well. He resets his clock every time he gets an app. He has a little box and he puts a 0, right? Because he knows by the time. And in fact, the last 2 apps he's wrote, Jimmy, correct me if I'm wrong. I think right when you got to 4, you wrote an app, so that was really cool to watch, right? But again, that's an average number. Sometimes you're at 6, 7, 8, and then you write an app, and then you reset that little metric, right? I wrote an app, so I need to go through another 4 or 5. That's a cool little way. Jimmy asked me the other day, or he's asked me several times, like, how do you make this fun? I'm like, I'm a numbers guy and a data guy. So these numbers are always running in my head, and I'm always trying to beat the metrics, right? I haven't in 8 years, so don't expect to. Now you have really good runs, which is the cool part, right? So just remember the numbers will always catch up, right? So like I had some crazy weeks in January. If y'all seen my APV the last 2 weeks, I've been struggling. The numbers just owed me, right? Or I owed the numbers, right? I was in, I think I had a $20,000 week in week 4 of January. Every family I sat with, it was silly. Like Amber was listening, like they were just like, yeah, 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 yeah. They wouldn't even let me finish the script. They're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. We want to make sure the whole house is paid off. I'm like, sweet. Here are the quotes. Boom, perfect. Writing apps, right? Now that right, I was probably close every other home I was sitting with. I was writing an app. It will never stay that way, right? So I'm not freaking out last week or this week where I sat with. So last week I sat with 11 families and I wrote one app. This week I'm already at 10 families and I'm still only at one app. Oh no, I lied. This week I'm at 3 apps, right? But again, it's just catching up. I bet you if you look at a 6 week window, every 4 to 6 sits, I write an application. Like these numbers are symmetry wide. So just for me, it brought me peace. That's why we love to teach these numbers, right? Because if you're looking at too small of a nut, right? Like if you, let's say you booked 4 appointments this week and you're like, man, I suck at this, right? Like I didn't write an application. Like, no, you don't have enough numbers to even judge yourself, right? Like have that peace of mind. Like you cannot, we can't judge your appointment. We can't judge your, like you just don't have the numbers to even give that data. You could have just sat with the two that said yes, or you could have just sat with the two that didn't want it, right? So it's always going to be a law of large numbers when it comes to leads. So again, this is where for me it brought peace in my head, right? Like I don't suck, right? Maybe my average, my like and I sit on the lower end. I hope y'all understand this. I like we have trackers of all our numbers. I am on the lower end of being good at this, right? Like I'm on the lower. I sit really close to a 30% show rate, which is horrible, right? Like if you're below 30, you got some work to do. I'm like 32. That's usually where I sit 8 years later. But I know my numbers and I just book enough appointments to where I can still have a January, which was a $50,000 month, right? Because you learn your data, you're able to say, hey, based on my numbers, I just need to dial blank to generate this much income. I just need to invest blank to generate this much income. When you start learning your numbers, it becomes really cool data for you, right? So again, every organization in here has a tracker. Make sure you all are filling it out. The more data you put into it, the more data you can literally just buy your income or activity your income, right? So just realize that's how come it's so important to track these numbers. Um, on the next part is okay, so I'm doing all this, I'm setting appointments, right? I'm keeping this up. Another great expectation I love to teach, just realize on average for leads, especially CIA leads, MIA leads is a lot less, probably one to two rebooks, and you're writing them, if not in the first home. For an MIA, most of us use CIAs. For the CIA data, it's 3 to 4 rebooks. So please write that down. If you're calling CIA, any bonus lead you're calling for CIA or any CIA period, even A leads, call in leads. You don't write them to the third or fourth rebook. Okay. And that's whether you sat with them or not. What do I mean by this? So, like if today I have 8 appointments of call in leads, right? Because that's all I work is call in leads, and I have 8 appointments booked. Again, I know my numbers. If I have 8 appointments booked, I'm probably going to sit with about 3. The other 5 are going to no show me. I expect that, right? I'm more excited about. So today I have 8 appointments. One of them is a no show from yesterday. Actually, 2 are reschedules from yesterday, and one's a no show from Monday. I'm more excited about those than the brand new ones that booked for the first time because they're farther along the process, right? So now that we know this data, I'm excited when they no show because when we rebook them, we get to build a little bit of rapport. Like, hey, Rodney, I know I missed you yesterday, right? I just trying to see if tomorrow's a good time. And he's like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry, I was at work. I took the kids for baseball, whatever. That gives me an opportunity to make a touch and make a little bit of rapport. Sweet. Baseball, I get it. I got 4 kids, right? When mine go to karate and basketball. I just take notes, right? So now I have him on the second rebook. I guess what? I expect Rodney to no show me tomorrow too, right? So tomorrow when he no shows me, right? Now the text messages or the calls become even cooler if you really embrace the system, right? So now it's Thursday and I'm calling Rodney like, hey, I know I missed you again. I got it. It was probably another baseball game. They get to say, no, it wasn't baseball. My bad. I completely forgot. Or, you know what? It was now this. Again, now I have conversation and I'm building that rapport because I know on average, right, I need 4 touches on the appointment side before I can actually write a policy. So now when he's on the third rebook or the 4, I'm excited about that one because now they feel a little bit sad, right? Like, oh man, I keep no showing Joe. Like, babe, we got to make sure we're ready, right? This is we missed it twice. Like they are more engaged at that process, right? And you can tell, like when you first sit with a client on the in the very first appointment, and it's the first time you book them, sometimes they don't even want to pay attention to us, James, right? But like when you have them on the second, third, fourth rebook, they're so engaged. Like, no, no, we made time today. We're ready to go. I'm so sorry I missed you 2 or 3 times. Like again, they're on a completely different stage. And so again, I love for y'all to write down. I don't write my lead until the third to fourth rebook. Do we write on the first sit? Yes, that's the majority of them, right? But only if you have a lot of appointments. Okay. If not, you got to remember you're going to traffic your leads, and it's going to be on the third or fourth rebook that you should be the most excited about. Do not get upset when they're no showing you. It's part of the process. Be excited about them because they just moved one step closer to a sale, right? So when I look at my leads, again, I'm not excited here. I'm excited once they've moved and they're getting closer to the fourth. That's when the appointment excites me the most because that it's just proven, right? Like we're closing the leads on the third to fourth rebook. So just understand that. Why I love to bring this up. This is sales. We get we let our emotions take over. Just because they no showed you doesn't mean they didn't want you to call them. Okay. There are a lot of agents out there that do not call a no show. In their eyes, that means, oh, they don't want this. No, no, that's not what it means. It means they're moving along the process. Okay. You got to remember this is a phone call or a Zoom call. You understand if they put popcorn in the microwave and it popped and they were and it's 10:30 and that's when your appointment, they're gonna go eat their popcorn and not show up to your appointment. Like that's how it's a virtual world, right? Like their kid spilled milk, right? And the call was right now, and you're waiting in Zoom, and they're over there cleaning up the spilled milk, and now they're upset at their child because they spilled milk on the carpet or whatever it may be. Realize it has nothing to do with you, and you can't let your emotion tie that they didn't show up. Because let me tell you, how many of y'all have gotten a C back or a confirmation? Yes, I'm showing up for my appointment, and then they don't show up. Well, guess what? They're living life too. Right? They got late. Got off of work a little bit late. Again, they were driving home, and the wife called them like, "Hey, you forgot to go buy this at the store. I need you to go buy this. If not, we don't have dinner." Boom, he's off. Right? Guess what? They ain't showing up for your 4 o'clock. It has nothing to do. You take your emotions out of this. That's why, right? The third or fourth rebook, that's when you're getting excited. So if y'all have ever watched, man, I've had days where Jimmy was laughing the other time. I think early January, I had 19 appointments in one day, 0 applications. Okay. Why I laughed and that excited me? Guess what? Do you know how many leads I moved over in one day? Right? 19 leads shifted to the next spot, right? And they were all over the place, right? A lot of them were on day 2, some were day 3, some were day 1. Like I just moved my sales process in one day than so much more than most, right? What was that generating, right? Week 1, I think my January was like a $6,000 week. Week 2 was 8,000. I kept moving all those leads over. What happened on week 3 and 4? They were $20,000 weeks, right? So a lot of times when you think you're not doing the work, you're pushing the sales process, right? That's all you're doing. You're simply moving people over. Why some of us have a lot of sales, just realize we're just putting in a lot more activity, right? We're moving leads a lot faster. That's why when you really start to understand the workflow, right, the lead workflow, man, this activity can get you some insane results. Again, I am not even anywhere. I can't even hit the national leaderboards. So just realize when you're looking on a Wednesday call and you're seeing agents right 30, 40, $50,000 in a week, that's all they're doing, right? They have more leads and they're just moving them way faster than us. There's no secret. They're all following the script, right? There is absolutely no secret. They are just doing more dials and they're moving more leads along the process faster within a week. That's how they're having 10,000, 15, 20, $30,000 weeks. It is, I promise you, it really is that simple. They're having more conversations with more people at the end of the day, right? So I love to talk about that. Resolving leads, I think this is really important on this part. So when you're calling a lead, again, your job is to simply book the appointment. I want to make sure we resolve a lead. Okay. What do I mean by that? Them hanging up on you, them cussing at you, them saying something and then hanging up, that is not resolving a lead. Again, you got to take your emotions out of it. I'm going to use my app that I wrote. Was it Monday? I think it was Monday's app. That so she was my 6 o'clock last Thursday. I was 2 minutes late on Zoom. I literally have the text message. I promise, Rodney, it was only 2 minutes. I have the text message to prove it. At 6:02, she texts, I am not waiting for you on Zoom. I don't have time to waste. Right? I was literally on Zoom like at 6:02 or 6:03. And I text her, hey, I was just finishing up my last appointment. I'm here in Zoom. No, no more responses. Right? And she texts me like 3 different texts, like, hey, I'm on Zoom. Hey, I'm waiting, all within like a minute or two. Right? So by 6:02, I was on there. She was having a bad day. That's all it was. Right? But her text message, let me tell you, her text message made me feel like I ruined the lead. She doesn't want me anymore. It's gone. Right? Like if you read the text messages, that's what the text messages said. I ain't waiting for you. I don't have time to waste. This is crazy. Right? She texts 3 different random stuff. Right? How many of y'all would just have stopped calling that lead? I want y'all to think about that. Right? I text her back. I called her. So I literally called her a minute after she sent me that text. Nothing. I called 2 times back to back at the appointment. Called, nothing. I'm like, and she's doing it on purpose. Yeah, I got to realize that, right? Like she's doing it on purpose. I send her a text message. Hey, sorry, I was finishing my last appointment. I'm here now. I don't see you in here, right? Is now still a good time? Nothing, right? I always text my leads again 30 minutes after my appointment. Hey, just making sure, do you have time now? And then I randomly call them at least after 30 minutes after our appointment when they no-show me. So I called her back, even though I kind of no-showed her, right? So then I called her 30 minutes later, nothing. Left a message, hey, just trying to get back to you. Called her the next day, nothing. I think then on Friday, we finally booked her, or Saturday, we finally rebooked her for Monday. Monday was completely not even what I was expecting. She was super nice. She was a Dallas Cowboy fan, James. Whoop, whoop, right? But just the nice, she's like, Joe, I just want to make sure the whole house is paid off. But again, right? You cannot, it had nothing to do with us. And you got to realize there's still a family or a real person on the other end. You cannot take your emotion and do something with that, right? Like you got to be emotionless when it comes to these numbers, right? You got to understand they're no showing you, they're doing all that stuff. When you call them for the very first time or anytime they pick up, even though they're the greatest leads in the world, and I promise you they are, you're still randomly calling a person. Right? They're at the grocery store. They just got in a fight with their husband. They just got it, right? The kid just spilled milk. Somebody just cut them off in the car and they're pissed. They're still real human beings that are going through the motion, and you are randomly calling them. Even though they're the best leads in the whole wide world, you are randomly calling them. That's what you have to understand. So when they cuss you out, when they hang up, when they tell you, no, I don't want this, and they don't let you go through what I'm going to explain in a little bit, that is not resolve them and lead. You simply put them as no con. You call them back tomorrow. I promise you, tomorrow it's a completely different person. Oh yeah, no one's ever called me, like picked up the phone and cussed me out yesterday, right? Like you got to take your emotion out of this, right? You're in sales. This is what you deal with. You got to love this stuff, right? So now, how do I know I resolve the lead? So when you're going through your script, and whatever they tell you, you get to the point like, hey, I just want to make sure, right? I get it. And they're going to tell you, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't fill out a form. You're a scam. F off. Stop calling me. Whatever they tell you has nothing to do with you. They're just being humans, right? You're still randomly calling them. The way you resolve it is this sentence right here. So make sure you get it down really good. Hey, Amber, I'm just making sure we're talking about the same coverage. This is the one that pays off the home if you were to pass away, make mortgage payments for you if you get sick. A lot of folks confuse this with homeowners insurance. Is that what we're talking about? And then they say yes or no. That's when you resolve the lead. And this is me personally, if you don't get that sentence out clearly and they respond, you have not resolved that lead. In my system, they just go as a no contact, and I will keep calling them until I get that answer.
Joe, can you repeat that?
Yep. So very simple, right? Again, hey, Amber, I just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. This is the mortgage protection that pays off the house in case you were to pass away. If you get sick, it makes mortgage payments for you. A lot of folks confuse this with homeowners insurance. Are we talking about the same thing? And then they say yes or no, right? They say, well, what do you mean? Perfect. Tomorrow at the back to script. Perfect. Tomorrow at 3 o'clock, I'll go over what that is, right? You do not explain, right? And then if they say no, great. Other services I do, right? You can go into the FIF stuff. I do life insurance, final expense, burial costs. I can help with retirement. Did any of that help you? Nope. Yes, great, right? But that's when you've resolved the lead. In my system, that's the only time I stop calling somebody. There are leads in my system a year old. They will get called eventually at some point, right? Because I dial so much. I literally still close October, November leads currently right now. Okay. I call my new batch from this week. And if I've done really good dialing, guess what? By Wednesday, Thursday, I'm back into 2-week-old leads, right? I randomly, right? If I have a random amount of time to say, hey, I have an hour and I don't have anything to do, I'll go back and call my January leads, right? Saturday morning, I finish my dial and it's 3 to 4 and I have nothing to do. I'm going to go call my November leads. You realize somebody's buying them as a CIC, CID, CIE, CIH, and they're going to go get $3,000 in APV on a 50-cent lead if you don't do that. The reason our leads are so good is because no one does that. I'm just giving y'all some secrets here, right? When you stop calling your leads, guess what? Doesn't mean the next person stops, okay? Like our leads are fire because a lot of people give up really fast. I will keep calling that lead because I want the highest R. This is a business. I track all my numbers. I know my lead investment to my deposits. Like I want the highest ROI possible. In January, I think we were looking back. Amber, I think you were looking at. I think it was like 10 apps in January out of almost. I think it was 45 apps. 10 apps were over a month old lead. Right? Like this is the data we give you, right? Again, that's how I stay highly profitable in this industry. I'm going to keep calling until, right? Like if I'm not doing anything, that dialer's running, right? Like it's so easy to do that. So I love to confirm all that. Anything on resolving and lead flow. And feel free to unmute, ask all the questions you want. This is where you get those answers.
You double book every single hour or every half hour?
I do 30 minutes. My appointments are every 30 minutes, and I will double book a time.
So
right?
there's 16
so many
slots
times
at least in your day.
Oh yeah. So like today I have 2 doubles, right? I think my 6 o'clock is doubled and like my 3 or 4 is doubled, right? Don't get scared. Remember, 30 to 40% show rate. I wish I would be coaching the other way, like, hey, no, you need to put an hour in between each appointment. If we had a show rate problem, we would all be rich right now, right? People don't show up to their appointments because it's a virtual world, right? There's depending on how good of the lockdown you get. Again, I'll start seeing some agents that have a 50, 60% show rate. Great. I'm just giving y'all my data. I'm on the lower end. I've been there for 8 years. I stopped trying to figure that out and I figured out my numbers. So I know if I book 45 appointments for the week, I'm going to sit with anywhere from like 10 to 15, and that's going to guarantee me almost never a week under 5,000, right? That's also going to guarantee me build up throughout weeks where I have $15,000, $20,000 weeks, and I suck at this, right? I hope y'all understand when I say that. If I can grab almost anyone's numbers and compare them to mine, y'all will have a higher show rate, you will have a higher close rate, and all I do is follow the script and do the same thing as y'all, right? I just have to outwork most, right? That's the really cool part about this. You can work your income or you can invest your income here. Like this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I've never had to worry about how good I sound. I just know my numbers. Have I gotten better over the years? 100% I have, right? But just understand, even right now, like if you put my lead investment to Elijah's lead investment to his show rate, like he blows me out of the water, right? Like some of y'all are going to be very skilled at this. Take advantage of it, right? Don't underwork because you're good at this, right? To where you're trying to sit with only 5 families, write 2 apps off of that, because it's going to bite you in the butt if you don't sit with enough consistently, right? So again, just know your numbers and you will crush this. I promise you, wherever level you are at, if you track your numbers for 3 to 4 weeks, we can literally look at that data and say, hey, it takes you blank amount of dials to make $5,000. It takes blank amount of lead investment to make $5,000. There is, I promise y'all this, there is no business out there in the world that you can literally say, if I do this, I make this. Based on your numbers, you can do that here. Okay. I've had all types of other business. We were hoping and praying somebody walked in our door. I had to invest in marketing. I had to be on radio. I had to be on commercials. And I still didn't know if somebody was going to walk through that door and buy. Here, you invest and you dial and you get a return, period. It's the coolest business I have ever seen in my life. Chris Cook told me this so well when I first started. He goes, you can buy your income here as long as you do the right work. And that's literally what it is here, right? The number I love to teach, again, write this one down. Every $250 you invest in leads, that should make you $1,000 to $1,500. It has held true till this day, right? I've never been outside of that number unless I was outperforming it, which is the cool part. Any other questions on working leads? Because I'm gonna give y'all some really cool warm market stuff to.
Yeah, Joe. So what I'm hearing is that like whenever you do like the multiple appointments, like you kind of get them into like a warmer call trend down the way, right? Because you say you have 19 that one day and you missed them all, so now you just progressed them on and on and on, which made it for an even
You
better
didn't
month.
really, right? We didn't really miss them. They just 19 people moved over one more step. That's how you got to look at it.
Not miss, but like you can make them warmer if that's
You just moved them down the process. Yeah, right. Made them warmer or got them one step closer to day 4, right? Because on reschedule number 4 is when you're usually closing them. So you got to get excited about no shows, right? You're just moving them along the process. I think we had a lot of new agents start like November and December, and a bunch of them were texting us like, I wrote them on the 4th, I wrote them on the 3rd, I wrote them on like the data's the data, man. Like fall in love with that number and it gets really cool.
Yeah, I never heard it that way. Like that, I don't know if it gave me some relief or something. I don't know, but
yeah, correct. Because it sucks. It still sucks, right? They don't show up. It's like, man,
yeah.
I had 3 today. I really thought I had an app. Like, no, you didn't. Right? Like you didn't have 6. You had very small chances of you writing an app.
And use those touches as building that rapport with them, because a lot of times they had a birthday I had to go to, or a baseball game. Kids, oh yeah, what's the game? Did they win? So make sure you take notes and put it on your, whatever you're using.
Yeah,
Put
somebody
it in the
got
funnel, stuff
sick.
like
Take
that.
notes, right? That gives you rapport when you're talking to them the next time.
Joe, could you repeat that one statement again? I just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing.
Yep. I just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. This is the coverage that pays off the house if you were to pass away.
Okay.
Right? Also makes mortgage payments for you if you get sick. A lot of folks confuse this with homeowners insurance. I just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing. You got to add the homeowners insurance. Everybody's going to tell you, I already got this. Do not believe them. Everyone's going to tell you, I already have this coverage. The mortgage company, I got it with my loan. No, they did not. A mortgage company cannot sell mortgage protection. They're selling them PMI because they have to, because they didn't put 20% down. Right. So make sure y'all are saying that sentence. They do not have this coverage. Okay.
Just let me just interject. If you want to get to that part, it's if you go into the classroom and then leads, and then you go down, there's the objections, because I've literally have this up and I've used that one already plenty of times where, okay, that's actually why I'm calling. We still have your file open from your original request. And I just want to make sure we're on the same page. I'm not calling about your homeowner's insurance. This is a separate coverage designed to pay off your mortgage if, God forbid, you pass away or become disabled or critically ill. And so do you have that coverage in place? And I've texted too. So like I said, it's classroom and then go down to leads and you'll see objections.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I'll have it everywhere. So any other questions on that? And that way we have some time for the warm market stuff. Feel free to ask. All right. So warm market.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where everything is right now, but is the classroom in the Sherlock?
So she's just talking about where the objections are. Just get with your upline, the person that brought you on, and tell them you're looking for that. And they'll
Okay,
help you. It's an
thank you.
HQ. Yep, absolutely.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let's get into some warm market. Look, I want y'all to write this number down too. If how many of y'all like, man, I need to write some business right now. Like I need some fast cash, right? Okay. We've done this before and we've done studies on this. And so write this number down. You have 10 applications around you right now in your warm market. And I'm lowballing it. Y'all can shake your heads. Y'all can say whatever. I promise y'all, you have 10 applications in your circle right now. Okay. It could be your barber. It could be your mailman. It could be somebody that you know at the grocery store. It could be your neighbors. It could be your mom, dad, brother, sister. Y'all can shake your heads all you all want. I'm telling y'all, you have 10 applications around you. What is 10 applications around you? That's $5,000 in deposits this week. This week, right? 10 apps, half the APV, and I'm lowballing it like crazy. You have $5,000 in deposits around you. You can refuse to do this all you want, but I promise you there's $5,000 sitting in your phone right now, if not right next to you somewhere. Okay. So what's the warm market reach out? This works so well. Y'all got to use it. Okay. So we're going to post this in band, but I'm going to share my screen really quick just to give y'all a few ideas. Again, these are just ideas. You can use anything. The whole point is you just got to do it, right? Like just, it's so nerve wracking. This one helps with the nerve wracking. Hey, Rodney, let's say Rodney's my cousin, right? I'm going to send this to Rodney. Hey, Rodney, I just want to let you know, right? I'm in the financial services. I started with this new company. We do life insurance, mortgage protection. I'm new, so I need some practice. Would you mind sitting on a 15-minute phone call or a Zoom call with me and let me practice with you? Right? The cool part is if we find something, Rodney, right? We may or may not, but if we do, right, my mentor is going to help me with that. It's that simple, I promise. Or and again, you can make this as, hey, Rodney, I now sell life insurance, mortgage protection, and I do some retirement stuff. I'm still practicing. Is it okay if I run the script with you? I promise you, your friends and family will let you do this. Ask James how many times I ran. He lived in Texas back then. I ran so many appointments with him over the phone. Like they're just going to help you practice. Okay. And guess what you're doing is you're showing them what you do. Remember the numbers in the country. 90% of people have very little coverage. Over half have no coverage. What are the odds you're sitting with someone that needs coverage? Extremely high. No one in my direct family has any life insurance when I joined the life insurance. No one. Most of them still don't. That wasn't my priority. My priority was I showed them at least what I did. Right? They now know I showed them. These text messages were great. Right? So what we're teaching, right? What I want y'all to write down is I will send 50 text messages today. 50 text messages. You got to send 50 text messages to people you know. Your barber, your hairstylist, your brother, sister, cousin, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, right? The person that sold you your car. Guess what? They sold you something. Do it back. Like, hey, bro, you sold me my excursion, right? Like, I also do life insurance right now. You think you can help me out? I want to just go with some practice. Or, hey, do you even have life insurance? I don't, but I do have a kid. Anyone on your social media that within the past year has posted they have a brand new baby, you better be calling them on your social media. Guess what they probably don't have? Life insurance. Guess what just became more important to them than ever? Protecting their child. How many people on your Facebook do you have that had a baby within the last year? How many people do you have on your Facebook that just bought a home? There are hundreds of thousands. I'm just promising y'all 10. Okay. So what I ask for you to deposit $5,000. Again, who raised their hand? Who wants $5,000 within 5 days? All right. So who wants $5,000 in 5 days? If you're refusing to raise your hand, I get it. You don't want money, right? But I do, right? Text 50 people, any one of those texts, and we're going to post it in band. You can grab whichever one. You can make up your own text. Text 50 people that I promise you 20 to 30 are going to reply. You just got to call them and book the appointment. You don't have to run the appointment if you're brand new. Get with your upline. We will help you. We will help you run the appointment. That's the whole point of saying it's a practice. I promise you, I dare y'all, right? I would love so many more stories on band, right? That, hey, I did it. Holy crap, I wrote business, right? So those are the text message. And then the referrals. If you are sitting with families, I'm going to leave y'all with this. You got to ask for referrals. I said referrals. Where's Jimmy? Told him I mess up all the time. He doesn't get it. I just go with it. Ruff, right? Improv. He doesn't get it, Rodney. He doesn't get the improv. I'm like, you got to be slick with it, right? Look, ASRs, after sale referrals. When you sit with a family, whether they got coverage or not, just ask, like, hey, do you think somebody you know, your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your friend, would benefit from a conversation we just had? I'm super excited we found out you don't need the coverage. I'm super excited we got you covered, right? But who do you think I should call today, right, that would benefit from a call like this? Here's a secret. Are y'all ready? This is a gangster move right here. I'm gonna give it to y'all. Whoever their beneficiary, if it ain't the spouse that's there, get their phone number. When you're filling out the application, it asks for their phone number. Get it, right? I know it says optional. Don't make it optional. That's the secret. Like, hey, what's their date of birth? What's their phone number? Sweet. When you close and you're done and you help the family, be like, hey, sweet, Rodney, we got that coverage. I saw your, I got your daughter as the beneficiary. I just want to let you know what the next process is. I am going to reach out to her and let her know I'm your agent. I'm going to let her know you got the coverage. Could you do me a favor, Rodney, and also let her know I'm going to reach out to her tomorrow? They're going to say, yes, absolutely. They're my beneficiary. Boom, instant referral. Guess what people want to do? What other people do. That referral right there, I promise you, that's a little gangster move. Okay. So when you got someone that says, I got 4 beneficiaries, 4 instant referrals. Okay. Take advantage of the stuff around y'all. I hope that brought y'all a lot of value. Again, we'll post this on band. Amber, do me that favor, please. And that text message, again, feel free to grab those, use them, make up your own. But I promise you they'll work. I would love for y'all to post on band and be like, hey, I did 50 reach outs. I've booked already 5, 10, 2, 3, whatever it is. It'd be really cool to see that. I promise you, you'll get other agents excited. So I ask y'all to help with that enthusiasm there. So thanks for hopping on. And